Hello, everybody. Welcome to this YouTube channel. This is Matthew Wiseman here, and this is my history lecture about the Crusades. So as you can see, this is a beautiful channel that I have about the Crusades, about history, because that's one of my passions. Another one of my passions, by the way, is languages. So if remember to please like, comment, and subscribe. Okay, 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 everyone. So here it is. This is world history, the Crusades, history lecture by Matthew. All right, let's do this. So here are some pictures of the Crusades, and before we get into the live stream, I would like to say that languages are one of my passions and that history is another passion. It's really important to study history because those who don't remember the past will be able or doomed to repeat it. That's a very famous quote that I've learned in class, I think. All right, let's do this. Do this. All right. What were the Crusades and why were they so important? Well, the Crusades were a series of religious wars fought between the 10th and 13th centuries AD, Anno Domini in Latin. They were a response to 400 years of Islamic aggression between the years 1095 to about 1291 AD. They were supported and sometimes directed by the Latin Christian Church in the Middle Ages. These wars were organized in the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth Crusades. Here is why they were so historically significant. The reason why the Crusades were so significant is because they have slowed down the advance of Islamic power and they may have prevented Western Europe from falling under Muslim suzerainty. Here is some oil paintings of the Crusades. The people used oil paintings in the Middle Ages because there was no photography back then. Cameras were not invented until 1826. Wow, 1826. That's a long time ago. All right, let's go to the next slide, please. All right, the First Crusade, 1096 to 1099. Here is a brief summary and results. The First Crusade was the first of the series of religious wars which lasted from 1096 to about 1099 AD. Sorry, I said 1296. It was initiated, supported, and at times directed by the Latin Church in the Middle Ages. The main goal is to retake the Holy Land from Islamic rule. Islamic rule. Sorry. Well, Jerusalem had been under Islamic rule for hundreds of years. By the 11th century, the Seljuk takeover of the region had threatened the local Christian populations, pilgrims from the west, and even the Byzantine Empire itself. The earliest initiate the early the earliest initiative for the First Crusade began in 1095 when Byzantine Emperor Alexios Icomenos requested military support from the Council of Placenza and with the Seljuk-led Turks. This was followed later in the year by the Council of Clermont, which during Pope Urban II supported the Byzantine requests for military assistance and also urged faithful Christians to undertake an armed pilgrimage to Jerusalem. So here are pictures of the Crusades. This one is from a manuscript written in about 1290, 1150, I believe. Here are some more paintings, oil paintings. Again, there was no photography back in the Middle Ages or medieval era. In the medieval era, people still used oil paintings. Photography was invented in the 1800s. All right, can we go to the next slide, please? All right, here's the Second Crusade brief summary and outcome. The Second Crusade, 1147 to 1150, was the second major crusade that was launched from Europe. The Second Crusade was started in response to the fall of the county in Edessa in 1144 to the force of Zengi. The county had been founded during the First Crusade, 1096 to 1099, by King Baldwin of Jerusalem in 1098. While it was the first Crusader state to be founded, it was also the first one to fall. Can you believe that? What a coincidence. The Second Crusade was announced by the Pope Eugene III and was the first of the Crusades to be led by European kings, namely Louis VII of France and Conrad III of Germany. With help from a number of other European nobles, the armies of the two kings marched separately across Europe. So they marched separately all across the European continent. All right, here's another picture of Islamic Jerusalem. Here's the picture of one of the battles, and here's another picture of a siege. The grand mosques over there mean like it was under Islamic rule. All right. Now let's go to the next slide, please. Here's one on the Third Crusade, a brief summary of what happened. All right. The Third Crusade, 1189 to 1192, was an attempt led by three European monarchs of Western Christianity: Philip II of France, Richard I of England, and Frederick I, the Holy Roman Emperor, or the Pope, to reconquer the Holy Land following the capture of Jerusalem by the Ayyubid Sultan Saladin in 1187 AD. For this reason, the Third Crusade is also known as the King's Crusade. It was partially successful, recapturing the important cities of Acre and Jaffa and reversing most of Saladin's conquests. But it failed to recapture Jerusalem, which was the major aim of the crusade and its religious focus. After the failure of the Second Crusade from 1147 to 1149 AD, the Zengid dynasty controlled a unified Syria and engaged in a conflict with the Fatimid rulers of Egypt. Saladin ultimately brought both the Egyptian and Syrian forces under his own control and employed them to reduce the Crusader states and to recapture Jerusalem in 1187. Here are some oil paintings of the Jerusalem siege, which is now in modern-day Israel, on October 2nd, 1187 AD. Wow, I'm like a walking history book. I am. All right. All right, here is another picture of the Crusades. This is the siege in 1187. Here's another siege in Jerusalem. And here are the tents which were set up for the armies. They may look like tournament tents, but they were actually forts, part of like forts for the knights, for the armies in Jerusalem. Jerusalem, which is a city in Israel, or in Hebrew, Yerushalayim in Hebrew, was actually besieged many times and destroyed 2 times. If you go to Israel, you better know how to speak Hebrew, because if you don't, they don't want to deal with people who don't speak the language. But you know what? You can also see the old city of Jerusalem from the 11th to 13th century. All right. Now, let's go to the next slide, please. Shall we? Let's do that right now. All right, here's the Fourth Crusade, the background, and here's the summary. Here's a little background. The Fourth Crusade, 1202 to 1204, was a Latin Christian armed expedition called by Pope Innocent III. The stated intent of the expedition was to recapture the Muslim-controlled city of Jerusalem by first defeating the powerful Egyptian Ayyubid Sultanate. However, a sequence of economic and political events culminated in the Crusaders' army. Excuse me for that. 1202. Yeah, by first defeating the powerful Egyptian Ayyubid Sultanate. However, a sequence of economic and political events culminated in the Crusader army's 1202 siege of Zara and the 1204 sack of Constantine, rather than the conquest of Egypt as originally planned. This led to the Partitio Terranum Imperii Romane, or the partition of the Byzantine Empire in Latin by the Crusaders and their Veneran allies, leading to a period known as Francocratia, or rule of the Franks in Greek. The Republic of Venice contracted with the Crusader leaders to build a dedicated fleet to transport their invasion force. However, the leaders greatly overestimated by the number of soldiers who would embark from Venice, since many sailed from one port to the other, to other ports, and the army could not pay in the contracted price. In lieu of payment, the Veneran Doge Enrico Dandolo proposed that the Crusaders back him in attacking the rebellious city of Zadar on the eastern Adriatic coast. Here are some pictures of the Fourth Crusade. One of them is from a manuscript, and two of them are oil paintings. Here is the Fifth and Sixth Crusades, explanations and results. The Fifth Crusade, September 1217 to August 29, 1221, was a campaign in a series of crusades by Western Europeans to reacquire Jerusalem and the rest of the Holy Land by first conquering Egypt, ruled by a powerful Ayyubid Sultanate led by Adil, brother of Saladin. After the failure of the Fourth Crusade, Innocent III again called for a crusade and began organizing crusading armies led by Andrew II of Hungary and Leopold the Sixth of Austria, soon to be joined by John of Brienne, titular king of Jerusalem. The Sixth Crusade, 1228 to 1229, also known as the Crusade of Frederick II, was a military expedition to recapture Jerusalem and the rest of the Holy Land. It began 7 years after the failure of the Fifth Crusade and involved very little actual fighting. The diplomatic maneuvering of the Holy Roman Empire and King of Sicily, Frederick II, resulted in the Kingdom of Jerusalem, regaining some control over Jerusalem for much of the ensuing 15 years, as well as over other areas of the Holy Land. Here are some pictures of the Fifth and Sixth Crusades. Again, these are all oil paintings. Most of them are, some of them aren't. Sorry. The Seventh Crusade, explanation and the outcome. The Seventh Crusade, which was from 1248 to 1254 AD, was the first of the two crusades led by Louis VIII of France, also known as the Crusade of Louis VIII to the Holy Land. It aimed to reclaim the Holy Land by attacking Egypt, the main seat of Muslim power in the Near East. The crusade was conducted in response to setbacks in the Kingdom of Jerusalem, beginning with the loss of the Holy City in 1244, and was preached by Pope Innocent IV in conjunction with a crusade against Emperor Frederick II. Baltic rebellion and Mongol incursions. After initial success, the crusade ended in defeat, with most of the army, including the king, captured by the Muslims. Following his release, Louis stayed in the Holy Land for 4 years, doing what he could towards the reestablishment of the kingdom. The struggle between the papacy and Holy Roman Empire paralyzed Europe, with few answering Louis' calls for help following his capture and ransoming. These two are oil, once from a manuscript. This is another painting, probably 15th century, 16th century paintings. The Eighth Crusade, here's the explanation and the outcome of it. The Eighth Crusade was the second crusade launched by Louis VIII of France. This one against the Hafsid dynasty in Tunisia in 1270. It is also known as the Crusade of Louis VIII against Tunis, or the Second Crusade of Louis. The crusade did not see any significant fighting as Louis died of dysentery shortly after arriving on the shores of Tunisia. The Treaty of Tunis was negotiated between the Crusaders and the Hafsids. No changes in territory occurred, though there were commercial and some political rights granted to the Christians. The Crusaders withdrew back to Europe soon after. Here's the situation in the Holy Land, the failure of the previous Seventh Crusade. Despite the failure of the Seventh Crusade, which ended in the capture of Louis VIII of France by the Mamluks, the king did not lose interest in crusading. He continued to send financial and military support to the settlements in Outremer, I think that's how you pronounce it, from 1254 to 1266 AD. Yeah, 1266, with the objective of eventually returning to the Holy Land. The Kingdom of Jerusalem. The Seventh Crusade officially ended on April 24th, 1254 AD, with the departure of Louis VIII of France from the Holy Land. He left Geoffrey of Jean, I think that's French, yeah, as his representative with the official post of Seneschal to the Kingdom of Jerusalem. The Bailey of the kingdom was John of Ibelin, succeeding his cousin John of Arsuf in 1254. John of Arsuf returned to Cyprus when he was advising Plaisance of Antioch, the regent to I don't know how you pronounce that. I'll just say the regent to the second of Cyprus, who had a claim to both kingdoms, Cyprus and Jerusalem. All right, let's go to the next slide, please. Here are the causes of the Crusades and what they were exactly. There are a lot of reasons why the Crusades had started and lasted from the years 1095 AD to about 1270 to 1291 AD. What we all do exactly know and we should know is that the main cause of the Crusades was the 400-year rule of Islamic rule and aggression in the Holy Land, which is now modern-day Israel. Another goal of the Crusades was the fact that so many trading centers were even under Muslim rule and had to be monopolized. Here is what each key leader wanted in the Crusades. The Byzantine Emperor, to regain lost territory and to defeat a threatening rival state. The Pope wanted to strengthen the papacy in Italy and achieve ascendancy as head of the Christian Church. The merchants wanted to monopolize important trading centers which were under Muslim control and earn money shipping crusaders to the Middle East and to Israel, Jerusalem. The knights wanted to defend Christianity, its believers in holy places, follow the principles of chivalry, and gain material wealth in this life and special favor in the next one. All right, everybody, here are the primary objectives of the Crusades. The primary objectives of the Crusades were to check the spread of Islam, to retake control of the Holy Land, to conquer pagan areas, and to recapture formerly Christian territories. The Crusades were seen by many of their participants as a means of redemption and expiation for sins. The final outcome of the Crusades was that Jerusalem remained under the control of the Muslims. During the 11th and 12th centuries, Western European powers launched the Crusades in an attempt to reclaim the Holy Land, particularly Jerusalem, from almost thousands and thousands of years and years of Islamic rule and aggression. These were, in fact, the main objectives of why the Crusades had taken place from the 11th to 13th centuries AD. All right, everybody, here's the end of this lecture. Can we go to this slide, please? Sure. To conclude this lecture, I will almost certainly say that there are many reasons as to why the Crusades had begun and ended. By doing research on the Crusades, it has helped me intensively to create this beautiful and compelling slideshow and lecture which was recorded by me. This has helped me to get more people to understand what the Crusades were and how and why they happened. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Please remember, though, subscribe, like, and comment. I will see you in the next live stream, everyone. Thank you so much, everybody. I will